All right, next one is Finance Advisory.
Finance Advisory, we met prior to the January 10th meeting. As an update to the notes, construction project accounting, about 80 to 85% of the bills and documents have been scanned through the Finance Advisory Council. And I don't know, Mike, do you want to report? Is there anything as at this time? Any updates on that?
I scanned in over $50 million worth of McHugh bills, assembled a package and passed it off to Gary.
Yeah, and I'm going to put a spreadsheet together that's going to break it out by, based on check and then based on where it was spent.
I scanned in about $5 million of architect white bills. That's all done. And so now there's some smaller vendors and some smaller bills that have been posted to the construction account that will scan those in. I think the next step is we'll start with the Oak something construction, which was our owner's rep company.
Owner's rep, Oakton or Oakwood?
Oak something.
Are those scans OCR?
Okay, any other questions on
It
finance?
can be.
So what the,
All right.
you should have got a document today, Marion, and handed it out. This is just, you can put it on the one at the BOE discussion timeline for budget. This was a handout that you got today. It kind of aligned a little bit with, it should, just more or less, I think in February, our focus as a board needs to be on staffing, class sizes, credits, administrative contracts, as these all relate to the budget. These are the only ones that somewhat have timelines to them, and that our staffing for our certified employees they need to be riffed by, or reduced in force by the March board meeting. So I'd like to focus a good amount of time at our February Committee of the Whole meeting and our February meeting, if you have questions or as we talk about some of this information, we kind of keep February to FTEs. Now, after discussion today with Pam and Tim, at the February Committee of the Whole, we'll begin to introduce some of that information that you asked from Art tonight, because some of this will play hand in hand. As you continue to monitor class sizes, class offerings, and certified staff, how much we choose to reduce that will then drive how much needs to be reduced in other areas. So I think it's important that at least by the end of February, you see some numbers related to extracurriculars, so that you can kind of say, okay, well, if we do this much or close to this much in extracurriculars, then that would mean we'd have to watch our class sizes to get this much in reductions from certified staff. Then in March, obviously we finalize our FTE reductions, and then I think we should spend a lot of time at the March Committee of the Whole discussing extracurricular opportunities for students and the financial impact and the reductions that would need to take place in regards to those. Provide Art enough time if he needs to gather more information. Our spring season should be wrapping up, if not wrapped up by then. So then we could try to finalize our extracurricular reductions by April, so that in May, and at the end of April and May, all we're focusing on is other budget reductions, kind of trying to get to either a balanced budget or a number that the board sees fit for next year's budget. And the reason I'm trying to put, as you see, I'm trying to provide a month worth of discussion or some time where you see it for at least 2 meetings, then we approve it, is looking back on this past year, that wasn't, we didn't follow a good timeline, and I know a lot of that was because of the transition of board members, transition of superintendent, transition of the new CFO, but we were approving extracurricular reductions and administrative contracts in July and August, and that by the time we get you that tentative budget in July, we should have a lot of this stuff already in place. We should already know what activities are running, not running, what class sizes, the goal of class sizes should be, goal of class offerings. So that's why I wanted to get something in your hands that we'll try to follow. Now, obviously, we might hit a bump in the road and might have to alter this a little bit, but at least it puts kind of a plan to what we're going to be working on the next 3 months.
Any other questions for Kevin?
2 questions. The first one is, we told the boosters and the patrons that we would talk to them before we made a change. That we'd talk about this during the year, talk to them before we made a change, and now we have it as a committee of the whole item in March. So what's your plan to,
So what you'll get is, you'll get all of our gate receipt information, as well
Okay.
as a list of at least, I think he had more than 30, but at least 30 or 40 schools within the area, what they do with their boosters and fine arts boosters in regards to activity passes. Then based off of that discussion at the committee of the whole, there'll be a time period for Art and Pam to meet with the boosters and the RBEF. And based off our discussions, we'll generate a plan and bring that to the board in April to say, hey, off of our discussions with boosters and RBEF, off of our data, and off of our discussions with the board, here's a recommendation
okay.
to the administration. So I actually saw the current booster president. I know they're having a transition of leadership going on right now, but I did talk to Gary today and said we would definitely want to, Gary Zeleny, that we would definitely want to sit down with him sometime between March and April to talk about the information we found. We'd also would like to invite, Pam and I talked about this a little bit before we make a decision on this, is probably have the RBEF and boosters attend that committee of the whole meeting in March, so that they could provide a little background of what they use those funds for that they're getting. At the end of the day, I mean, not to jump the gun, because we should wait to see what numbers come in from our gate receipts from the winter season. At the end of the day, here's what the board is going to have to face. We're going to have Art put together the expenditures related to running a home contest, and then the only revenues that will offset it will be either gate receipts and or pay to play. So you saw today that there's a limited amount of sports that we charge gates at. So the several other sports that we're running that we have no gate receipts from are pretty much the only revenue we have to offset that is our pay to play and the revenue generated from other gates. So what we have to kind of figure out is, as we continue to look at cutting extracurriculars or opportunities for kids, or we look at raising fees so that kids can have extracurricular opportunities, it's going to kind of be like, which bucket do you want to choose from? Because the boosters and RBEF have been very good to Riverside Brookfield. It's just a matter of, can we afford giving some of those costs that we lose in activity passes, or do we have to hold on to that money to offset?
I didn't expect you to explain
some
it
of
today. I just want to see what do you intend to do in the schedule to engage the two organizations that we told them we would engage.
Yeah, so there is a
So
plan.
it's not on the list, that's why. The other thing is on pay to participate and credits. You have them in the committee of the whole in February, then you have a pay to participate committee of whole again in March, but they're never listed under a regular meeting. Are we just going to discuss them in a committee of the whole and that?
No, then we would vote on them at the finalized extracurricular reductions, and that should say / revenues.
Okay, and what about credits?
Credits would be discussed. Credits you won't vote on credits. Right now, we're not preparing unless we hear from we'll have some information to review, but credits will just stay impacted about how we want to manage class sizes.
Okay.
So as you can see, the month of February is where we're focusing on staffing and academics. Then once we finalize our FTE counts, then we would look at extracurriculars. But the reason we wanted to get, once again, the reason we wanted to get the extracurriculars out there in February is so that you can see there is some hand in hand, because if the FTE number is lower than what we need to reduce, then we're going to have to increase the number of reductions from the extracurricular side.
Any other question for Kevin?
Yeah, I sort of have a question on this. I thought we were going to maybe have a philosophical discussion on this whole finance thing today. Was I mistaken on that, or?
Yeah, I think we're going to bring it out more in the personnel council report.
And that's
Next.
You hold my thought?
all right.
Okay, hold
It kind of
that.
related
I
to
thought it was good
the money
question.
stuff. Okay.
All right.
That's it.
Any other questions on finance?